Podcast is now live.
All righty. Good evening. This is Tom Sellers and my partner, Frank Hostica, out there well, you guys are here in town, just a little ways away.
High atop the Stewart Ranch.
Very nice.
In Johnsburg, Illinois.
Perfect. And we also have one of our favorite guests returning, our friend, and not only our friend, but friend of the show, Coach Tim Stewart, Coach Papa.
Hello.
How are you guys? I already know what you guys did today, but please, let's make some more people jealous.
Well, we were out at the McHenry Area Chamber of Commerce golf outing, which normally is scheduled for the end of May, but because of COVID, those kind of things got postponed, and it was rescheduled for today. So we had a lovely fall day, Indian summer day, whatever you want to know. It was a lovely summer day here in McHenry. Temperature in the 80s, a little bit of breeze, nice sunshine, and a lot of fun out on the golf course.
Very nice.
Yeah, we hit a few golf balls.
I imagine, and it sounds like you guys had to
And a few of them went straight.
cut it out. I've known you guys a long time.
I didn't say we had it. There were two other partners.
I got you.
Yeah.
And then we were talking before we went live here, and most of you don't know Frank and I play in a golf league, and Frank is my partner. And then I hear these stories today of 25 and 30-foot putts. I'm like, who in the hell is this guy? This is not the guy I see on Thursday.
No, different greens. Yeah. These greens, you can actually putt on these greens, not those pool tables we play on Thursday in that league.
Right. Yeah, that is. They can certainly be difficult when you hit a ball directly in the middle of those greens, and they just bounce and they keep going. All right. Well, let's get to what it is we came here to talk about tonight. The reason that I asked Coach Papa to join us is he's a coach, but he asked a question, and I hear this question from time to time from people, and I ask this question. Hey, I'm pretty good at what I do. Do I need a coach? Coach, how would you respond?
Absolutely. And just give me a call. We all need somebody in our life. Call it a coach, call it a mentor, call it an accountability partner. We all need somebody in our life who is going to help us focus. You can't read the ingredients from inside the bottle. You can't see your life while you're living it. We all need somebody in our life who will be that sounding board when things aren't going quite right, and they can say, hey, excuse me, you might want to try this. The thing about it is a good coach is not going to come in and bust your chops right away without you asking. Right?
Oh, they'll get to it.
Now, as a high school coach, they don't ask as much, so I got to do more telling there.
There you go.
In recognition, there is healing. When you come to me and say, hey, coach, I need some help with this side of my business, or I need some help with, this type of thinking. I'm really stuck in negative self-talk. Then you're more open to receiving what I'm about to share.
Right.
And we can move forward. But if I come walking in like a bull in a china shop and I say, hey, bonehead, you need to start doing this, you're like, who is this guy?
Right.
So the importance, do we need to have a coach? Yeah, we all need to have a coach. I have 3 coaches in my life, mentors, coaches, call them what you want. One of them is somebody I pay to help me on the business side. One of them is my old high school football and track coach that I still communicate with him because he knows what makes me tick better than anybody else. The other one's sitting right here next to me, where we exchange thoughts and ideas all the time. And he's not afraid to say, hey, bonehead.
I think that happened on the golf course today, as a matter of fact.
At least once.
We all ended up coaching each other, the 4 of us out there in our group. Hey, keep your head down. Hey, you're dropping your shoulder.
Hey, you can't hit a 9 on that
around. But yeah, and I think the other one you brought up, accountability partner. Coach can do that as well. Coach can know what you want because you've had those conversations and hold you accountable to get to where you want to go and where he knows you want to go, because we're the first one to maybe make up an excuse, let ourselves off the hook sometimes.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to have an accountability partner. And again, same thing. Tom and I, we meet on a weekly basis every Monday morning to go over things and talk about things and help each other, push each other along, and keep us on task.
Right.
I think we all need somebody to do that. And if you don't think you need that, you probably do.
Well, and here's my take on it. And I don't know that I would call myself a coach, but I teach a lot of people across the country the tactics that we talk about and the things that we talk about on this show. Do I have to coach them? Maybe sometimes I have to cajole them. That's a word I haven't used in a long time. To get them to do what it is they want to do. But going back to the point about how do you know when you need a coach? I can tell you from experience, when you are, living your life, doing your business, we have a tendency to get into a rut. We keep doing the same thing because it worked at one time. And we are not, we are in the eye of the storm, not the surrounding area. So we don't even sometimes realize that we are in that rut. Sometimes it becomes a matter of, we don't even see a problem until it's a really big problem. And sometimes by that point, now you got a lot of work to do. That's when you're picking up a phone. That's when you're saying, help. And regardless of what that issue is, the best person to walk you through that is, in my opinion, when I look for who I'm going to be coached by, and I have 3 coaches myself. Now that you remind me, 2 of them are on this show, and one is a guy who's been on our show. But what I look for is, if I can't identify the problem, I can only identify the symptoms, I need a coach. If I don't see that I'm making progress because I can't identify the problem, I can only identify the symptoms, I need a coach. If I get to a point where I've come to ground I've never seen before.
Well, one of the things you said really kind of struck a chord. In recognition, there is healing. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't go to a doctor and say, hey, doctor, I have cancer. Can you fix me? We go in and say, hey, doc, my shoulder hurts and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. And the doctor starts doing his thing and he asks a bunch of questions and takes a bunch of tests and eventually comes up with a diagnosis.
Right.
We recognize symptoms. A symptom is maybe your bank account's not growing fast enough.
That's a big one.
Hopefully it's a big one.
No, it's a big symptom.
But the whole idea in recognition, there is healing. And sometimes you need that coach to really get down to the recognition side of it as well, and to drill down on the why. My bank account's not big enough. Why? Well, I'm not making enough sales. Why? I'm not closing the deals. Why? We get down to the final frame. Well, I get really nervous about my script and I'm not getting it out correctly. Well, let's start working on your script.
Right.
But it's a 2-year-old why that really gets down to a point where you can actually be successful.
Now, I know because I see it. You and I have worked on a couple of projects away from you coaching me. And you of late have been putting out a ton of content. And I know, just because I know how marketing works, when you put up that much content, you get some things going on. So if you would, and I want to come back to the coaching thing as well, but I want to also tie this into how you as a coach, because I have a lot of people who say, I want to be a coach, but I don't know who wants me to coach them. Well, that's because you're not getting the word out. So tell me what it is that you're doing to not only get the word out, but to grow your customer base.
Well, let's go back to the first person that I actually coached and got paid for it.
Okay.
This person had asked me to meet with them for coffee. She had some questions for me, and those questions involved moving from a joint practice into having her own business.
Sure.
And we talked for an hour, hour and a half, maybe a cup of coffee or two. And at the end of it, she says, wow, that's really, really great. Thank you so much for sharing. How much do I owe you? And I'm like, owe me? We're just having a cup of coffee. I'm just, sharing my thoughts. She goes, no, I'm in the information business, and you just gave me some great information. I need to pay you for this. So I said, well, if you know how much it's worth, go ahead and write a check. And she did. And I looked at it. I'm like, that's what it's worth? And it was kind of.
And a new business was born.
Yeah. People will pay for this. My mother-in-law is a wonderful lady. And one day she asked me, she was.
And she wasn't the person paying for this.
No, she wasn't.
So.
I was going to say, if you got that deal done, you need to clue me in.
She says, now, what do you do for a living again, Tim? I said, Marty, I give people advice and they pay me for it. She said, then you owe me a lot of money. They said, well, there's a little difference. They ask for the advice.
Right.
And that's the whole bottom line is getting people to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And the only way you really get them to that point is to be present. These 1, 2, and 3 minute videos that I put out every day are really just to get to that point where people start building a relationship with me, even though it's not in the same room like Frank and I are here. But they start seeing, they start trusting. And now something I'm going to say along the line is going to trip a trigger that says, hey, you know what? I wonder if he might be able to help me through this challenge. And that initiates a conversation and it goes forward from there. But I can't walk into a room and go, hey, you need a coach. I'm right here. They'll be like, and they'll go hire somebody else. He's right. I need a coach, but I'm not hiring that guy.
Right. So Frank, I know because you and I have known each other a long time, and yes, we've been having our Monday 7:30 meetings for 2-3 years now. It's been a while.
Yep.
And I know that you consume a lot of coaches out there's content as well. Yeah, I know you listen to Darren Hardy. I know there's other books that you and I have talked about. So in staying in, the recognition part of, hey, you know what, I need some help with this and I need to find some content that resonates with me. What are the things that you look for?
Things I look for are, so you mentioned Darren Hardy. Listen to Darren Hardy. I like the way I like his attitude. I like the way he talks. And he can get to the point. He gets to it, quickly. Add some humor. He's pretty, full of himself, but yet humble.
Sure.
And put out some great content. Jim Rohn's another
one of my all-time favorites.
One of my favorites, and I still listen to his stuff. Interestingly enough, just the other day, this past week, I listened to him, Darren Daily. It's on in the morning. It's about 5 minutes. Listen to him in the morning when I'm out going for a walk or whatever. And his topic was, about success in that is, people keep looking for answers or whatever. He goes, I found a couple people to listen to, one of them being Jim Rohn,
right,
and consumed his material over and over and over. Not only did I listen to all of his stuff and read all his books, but I went back and listened to it again and consumed it again. You know what? Right. And even though I heard it once before, next time I heard it, I heard something I didn't hear before. Why? I was in a different place. I was in a different mindset.
Sure.
Whatever the case may be. So again, but back to answering your question, what do I look for? I look for someone I can relate to, somebody who's real, someone who's gonna not just blow sunshine up my skirt.
You wear a skirt?
Yeah, you know that. You're my coach.
You guys did a whole session on that, didn't you?
But and someone I can trust.
Sure.
And again, the other part, Tim talks about I'm worth that, or that what I just told you was worth that.
Right.
Someone who does it because they love to do what they do. Yes, we'd all be lying to you if what we do isn't to put some money in our pocket.
Sure.
I say that all the time when I'm out talking with people. I'd be lying to you if I said ultimately I'm out trying to make a buck. Okay.
Right.
But the idea of they have the passion to help, they're good listeners, and they want to do it because they love what they do. It's not about, I'm doing this because you're just another guy writing me a check.
Right. And here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people out there realize. And I may say, I may offend coaches out there. If so, that is not my intent. But here's what I have noticed a tremendous growth in recently, and really a lot this past year. There's a lot of coaches out there. There are a million of them. And don't get me wrong.
And more now.
Yeah. And I am not against it at all. What I am saying, I'm advocating for them. Folks, it's a business. It is a real business. If you can find a coach, mentor, call them what you like, that can help you through a particular situation or a particular problem that you are profiting from, because you will. If you get that rock moving out of the way on the road, you can keep driving, right? So you're profiting from that information. So when we talk about coaches, yes, keep in mind they are business people. What are they selling? What is the number one thing sold on the internet right now? Information. And what coaches are selling, for lack of a better word, is information combined with experience. One of the reasons that, and I'm a huge Jim Rohn fan, Les Brown, Tony, all those guys. The reason, and this is one of the reasons I'm one of Coach's clients, not only do they have the information, not only do they see where the problem is, instead of saying, listen, this is the reason they go into storytelling that ends with the moral of the story. And if you're listening, the answer to your question. Coach, please jump in, because I think I just unmasked.
He teed that up for you, Tim. He was teeing up.
You just been unmasked. I just gave away your modus operandi.
Here's how it goes. My daddy used to hit me for telling stories, and now they pay me for it. You've heard me say that a lot of times.
Yep.
But the bottom line is, we as human beings survive today because of storytelling. Before the written word, everything was shared through the spoken word.
Right.
And with the spoken word, what comes in that doesn't happen in the written word is the emotions. A good author can put things together and make sentences work to draw the emotion out of you. A good coach can just kind of look at you. And this is what we're going to do today. And it's, I'm sorry. It's about the emotion. You're still in sales, but you were in a particular brand of sales for a very long time. And we were taught selling or buying decisions are made on emotions justified by logic.
Right.
That's a great start, but all decisions are made emotionally, justified logically.
Right.
So if you're trying to give somebody information only, they don't have enough to make an information because you haven't touched them in here.
Right.
And that's what stories do. I just finished my daily video a few minutes ago because we were out on the golf course. It came out a little bit late.
But it was on the golf course.
No, I
hate both of you. I hate both of you.
did. I say we were on the golf course. And
green. We were on the green.
we brought the green with us.
What's a green?
When I got home, I said, I have to go up and make my video. I had about 15, 20 minutes. And my wife says, well, what are you going to say? I said, well, I'm really not sure yet. But as I got upstairs, it came to me, and the simple nature of it goes back to a great comedian and night show host, Johnny Carson. And Johnny had a segment called The Great Karnak. And I used to love to watch it where he'd take an envelope and he'd touch it to his head. And there's a question inside the envelope, and he'd come out with the answer. It'd be like Gatorade. And he'd open it up and it'd say, what an alligator receives on welfare. Right? And he had all these jokes. So, but I want to do a Karnak impersonation here. Love and forgiveness. Love and forgiveness. The question is, what do we need to practice if we're going to get this country back on track? And use that to lead into my story on we need to start practicing love and forgiveness. We need to embrace each other and get back to the table instead of fighting each other. And right? But the message in there is simple, but I couldn't have got to that message if I just opened it up and said, all right, people, we need to hug each other and forgive each other. This is Tim Sort. I'm Coach Papa. I approve this message. Nobody's listening to that. We have to touch the emotions. And that's what a great coach does. A great coach finds out who the individual is that makes up the members of his team. And he treats each one of those unique individuals, and he finds out what trips those triggers, and he goes in and he wires this person for this and he wires this person for that, eventually be able to mold them all together in a team.
Right.
In the world of business, relationships, mindset, whatever type of coach you're looking for, it's got to be somebody who touches you here, not here. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I would say to you, Coach, certainly you need to touch them here, the heart, and here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
but these are connected, and you need to make that connection between the two. And I think you do a great job of that. What I came to my mind when you were talking was, in the last few months, The Last Dance, the thing that was out about the 96 or whatever, 98 Bulls. And, all that went on and into that. And, there were some spots in there with Coach Phil Jackson. And that was the one thing that Phil Jackson, maybe you didn't hear so much about how he touched them here, but he sure knew how to get into their head, each one of their heads.
Yep, his Zen master.
Make them buy into the whole thing, buy into the triangle offense.
Yeah, we're gonna run a triangle.
Watching that series, and, how the heck do you get Dennis Rodman to do anything Dennis Rodman otherwise isn't going to do? How do you motivate Dennis Rodman?
I'm thinking Scooby snacks. Personally.
Yeah, how do you? Michael Jordan doesn't necessarily need much motivation. He's very self-motivated. But how do you motivate Michael Jordan to work within, get him to buy into, hey, you can't do this, but you think you can do this yourself, but you can't. You need the rest of this. You need to pull the rest of these people into this to win championships. And then all the other moving parts of that, and pull this group through all the crazy distractions that went on as a team. So that's more on team coaching, and that's more managing as well as coaching. But on that individual one-to-one basis, I think a good coach needs to be able to connect to the person they're working with both here, and then help that person connect with what's here, with what's up here, and create that highway back and forth.
Right. Right.
Well, and what you
And
say is
we're sitting there looking at the screen.
I was going to say, I got people watching this right now. It's like, what in the hell is that seller's guy doing now?
But the point is, and you made it perfectly, the path through the brain flows through the heart. If you touch all the emotions, but you don't have the information to build them, then all you've made them do is laugh or cry, and they're going to hate you for it.
Right.
The path to the brain flows through the heart. The emotions open up. I called my dad. I was doing a lot more speaking, and I said, Dad, I've been doing a lot of speaking, mostly at the middle schoolers and high schoolers. I said, I'm really enjoying it. And he said, you want to be a good speaker? Well, I said, of course I do, Dad. I said, in other words, they might name a vacuum cleaner after me. He goes, well, tell people what they want to hear. Once you got them listening, sneak in what they need to hear.
Right.
I thought, oh, you dumb old farmer, where do you come up with this stuff? And I'm the speaker here. You're the farmer. I hadn't got to that point where he was the most brilliant guy in my life yet.
Right.
And later on, I was taking my final course of my bachelor's degree, and it was called The Psychology of Public Speaking. And in the Psychology of Public Speaking, it said you want to speak to the emotions first.
Right.
Once you've got them open, then you can teach. But in order to lock it in, you have to go back to the emotions. Now, when you look at the great speakers, and you mentioned a couple of them, Tony Robbins, Darren Hardy, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Norman Vincent Peale, I could go on and on and on.
Right.
They make you laugh first, and then they teach.
Make you think.
Right? They don't. Very few of them use fear as the emotion to open you up to learn. They use humor, and that humor allows them into your life. Well, on an individual basis, Tom, you'll attest to this, and everyone else. The first thing that I work with when we sit down is, what are your successes this week? What made you happy this week? Right? What did you do well this week? And at the end of my soccer practice, who's in the middle? What'd you do well? That's awesome. What do you need to work on? It's great. What are you phenomenal at? What are you so good at? Everybody's coming to you for it. And those pieces of moving the emotions around is what opens an individual up and makes them coachable.
Right.
One of the problems with leaders in our country today is if a leader thinks that he is the smartest person in the room, then he has a problem.
Right.
All right.
Agreed.
He's not communicating. Now, he may be the smartest person in the room, but if he is, he's not communicating it. He is giving everyone else the credit for what they're good at and what they're good at because he's built this team of people. But our leaders today, they all stand up and, I am the alpha in the room and you're going to all listen. No, stop it. You want to build a team, you incorporate that. The only difference between me as a coach and them as a team is I can no longer go out on the field and perform. And as a leader, you need to stop trying to perform and you need to encourage and inspire and motivate the people around you to do the best thing. When you're in a one-on-one coaching situation, you need to know who that person is across the table from you. And you need to be totally vested in their success. Your success is my success. Your success is my referrals. When you're successful, you're sending more people my way. And it's just the way the business goes. And if I'm just out, trying to rake through as many clients as I can to make as many dollars as I can, why am I doing this? That's not the purpose. And if I walk in with this form and I say, here, fill out this form and you'll be successful, that means nothing to you. I've got to break down this program and personalize it to you. And when we do that, your success is just automatic.
Absolutely. Well, we have reached the bottom of the hour, which means we are going to get in our first commercial break with one of our sponsors, and we will be back on the other side of this. Hey, business owners, have you ever been treated unfairly? Signed a contract that you didn't understand? Have customers who haven't paid you? I'm Frank with Hostica Assurance, and we want to level the playing field. Your business can have 24/7 access to an attorney for an annual cost which is less than 1 hour of an attorney billing fee. 815-347-0181. Hostica Assurance. We keep the stressing and the guessing out of your business legal matters. And we are back.
We are. Half of us. Oh, there we are. Hey, that's good too.
Whoops, wrong one. Hang on. There we go. I tell you, the guy who's running this board, we ought to fire him.
No.
Well, we can't fire him because he's not getting paid.
We'll keep around. He comes cheap.
Right. So, Coach, before the break, we were talking about how you kind of uncover things. So I want to kind of go to the next level on that. So somebody sees your content. They say, hey, wait a minute. This guy may be helpful to me. So how do you find out? In other words, what is your first conversation with that person kind of look like?
That's a great question, Tom. I'm so glad you asked it. One of the neat things about technology today is when you put a post out, it may get 1,500 views. It may get 17 likes, and it may get 37 shares. The only key element that you can work with on there is those likes, because it doesn't matter if it's Facebook or LinkedIn, you can go see who actually liked your video.
Right.
And then that opens a phone call. Now, if I go down it and it's Frank and it's Tom and it's April and it's Christina and it's Rachel, I'm like, okay, great. You guys all like my stuff.
If you want me to stop liking it.
Yeah, I can.
But when I get down to, Hassan Ali Shahabi, who just happens to be my new assistant soccer coach up at Wilmot High School.
Okay.
But I see this name that I don't know. And somehow he found my video and he liked it. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, thanks for liking my video. If you don't mind my asking, what was it that touched you that made you like it? So we'll start with just a simple conversation like that.
Sure.
With the response back, he said, well, what you said really affected me right where I'm at today. Boom, I know something that is important in his life. And then I can set up, hey, if you'd like to have a conversation about that, and I use Calendly for my calendar. I can send him my calendar link and say, hey, find a 15-minute spot on my calendar and let's have a quick conversation. And that's the way it begins. The idea of moving them into my Facebook free group, the Missing Piece for Entrepreneurs, where they get all of these little videos and a lot of other little tidbits from me. And over the course of 365 days, they might get enough pieces to build a successful puzzle. But the point being, when they get through that and they're liking all these videos, we want to move them into Transforming Together. And both of you were on the initial Transforming Together package the other night. But that's a group coaching session where I bring 10 people together into a room. And we all bring, it's called Transforming Together, because we're all going to bring a piece of the puzzle into that group. And when we're in there, we're going to help each other learn and grow and move forward. But it's a process. It's a step-by-step process. Going back to, somebody who just puts that video up, hey, your life really sucks. And if you want it to not suck anymore, you need to call me. Yeah, right. I'm going to call you, but I'm just going to call you something. I'm not going to call you on the phone. It's important that you build conversations and you build relationships. You're not going after the dollars right away. You want to make sure that you're a right fit for them and they're a right fit for you moving forward. I don't know. Does that answer your question or help?
Kind of.
Okay.
I want to dig a little deeper. So now somebody comes to you, you've built somewhat of a relationship on Facebook. They're watching your content. They're watching all your content, and you can see the likes every time you put a new video up. So now they reach out to you and say, Coach, I think I need your help. I got something going on. I'm not quite sure how to fix it.
Mhm.
Can we talk? Can you tell me what it's going to take to fix this problem? And if it's going to be something you and I need to talk about, once a week or whatever, maybe get into your program. How does that conversation go?
Well, it becomes a game of 20 questions.
Okay.
That little game we played to try to find an answer growing up.
Right.
Because I'm not magic. I can't look at you and say, "Oh,
I can fix you.
yeah, Frank, you're all screwed up, but I could fix you, Frank. Don't you worry about that."
Tom, you are not fixable. I'm sorry.
Island for Misfit Toys, one-way ticket.
Right.
But it becomes so. So tell me a little bit more about what's going on in your life with you're around this particular issue.
Right.
And then shutting up. One of the tendencies we have as human beings is as a person begins talking, the first 2 or 3 things they talk about are going to be symptoms. But as a fixer, as soon as you hear that first symptom, you're like, boom, that's it. I can fix that. And you go in and you dive into it and you spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes on that. They're like, well, yeah, I already know that, but that led me to this. And you're like, oh, 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in proportion, ask the question and sit back. Use a lesson from the old used car salesman of the world. Shut up and let them talk, because they will talk through the problem. Now, if the silence gets a little bit deafening, then that next question should be prepared. But you can't have these questions just automatically, okay, once I've answered question 1, I'm going to answer question 2, because the response to the first question is going to lead you down the next path. And then tell me a little bit more about that, Tom. At what point did your wife start hitting you? No, she doesn't hit.
When I told her I didn't like dinner, why?
But when I go ahead, and then sit back again. It's important to listen. And this guy next to me is probably one of the best at taking notes. And it is important when you're meeting with someone, especially if you're in person and you've got a notepad in front of you, just say, do you mind if I take a few notes while we talk? Because, I can recite poetry for hours. Both of you have experienced that. But I can't necessarily remember exactly what that person said, especially if I've gone through 3 or 4 different questions. So when you get a highlight, when you've said this, then you're going to go back and say, let's kind of sum up today. Now, early on, you said this. Could you tell me just a little bit more about that? Let's expand on that a little bit. And just get down to the point where eventually you're going to find out what the real problem is. But it's through conversation. There's no guessing. There's no magic. There's no Houdini in this. I can't just walk in and say, here's the solution.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, and I'm pretty sure I am, for those out there that are considering, or maybe you're encountering an issue you're not quite sure how to get through, whether it be in your business life, your personal life, maybe your parenting life, whatever the issue, and your thinking is, well, a coach, he's just going to slap me around. I get slapped around enough. I don't need no more of that. Yeah. A good coach, again, and I consider Coach Papa to be one of the best. A good coach is not going to tell you what's wrong the second you walk in the door. He's going to try to find out what you think is wrong. Yeah. He's going to let you uncover, most cases, your own symptoms. And then he's going to record that information on a notebook now, where if you look at the hair on all of us, not a damn one of us can remember everything we hear anymore. So he's going to take notes.
He's got a lot of brown left in his. It's just
I'm pretty sure he dyes it.
Really? Thanks.
In recognition, there is healing, and it's not my recognition. I can recognize the problem maybe in the first 2 or 3 questions.
Right.
But until you get it, we're not going to fix it.
Right.
Because, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
The alcoholic doesn't get it until he hits rock bottom. The jerk doesn't get it until he doesn't have any friends. The overweight, out of shape person doesn't get it until he can't pick up a piece of paper off the floor. It's when we get
the golf ball out of the cup. Oh, never mind.
And once we start getting it, and that's the point you're looking for. You're looking for the aha in the eyes. So as you're going through, and then there's all of a sudden there's this aha. Now you know where we can start and where we can move through it.
Right.
There was something else popped in my head while you were saying that. And it slipped out just like you were talking about. It's
Well, I'll throw something in there. So
Please.
there's this other thing I would say most of us, most humans have, and that's this thing called ego. And I think that's what prevents a lot of people from seeking help that they could benefit from. I won't say that they need, but help they can benefit from, because they're too proud to ask for help, or they think they've got all the answers. They think they got this figured out, or I can figure this out myself. I don't need anybody, or I don't want anybody telling me what to do.
Right.
And that's just your ego getting in the way. And that's, I think, been down that road. I think we all have. And
We all have, sure.
people, that's half the battle. You got to leave your ego at the door, come in, be willing to listen. But it's got to go both ways. That listening you were talking about, Tim, you know what? As the coach, yes, absolutely. You got to be a good listener. As the person getting coached, I got to be listening too. I got to be listening to what you're telling, what you're saying. All right. I got to be willing to accept what you're saying. And maybe, a term I heard in another place I've been, take what you like and leave the rest. Okay. Because not every bit of advice is for everybody. And there isn't anything that's cookie cutter here. But you know what? If during the course of conversation, I pick up one thing that I make a note of and I can use, I can benefit from.
Yep.
I've gotten something. Okay. That's where it becomes, you got to have that willingness to listen and take action on what you've been coached on, or what you've been advised on, or whatever.
Right.
I'm going to go into a perfect example here, Tom, that you may remember.
I don't.
Program is the 21-day happiness advantage. For 21 days, you do 5 things a day that are very simple. They take about 2.5 to 3 minutes to accomplish.
Don't you tell anybody how long it took me. Don't you do it.
I'm going to let you tell them. You write down 3 new things you're grateful for. You journal on something positive happened in the last 24 hours. You exercise, you meditate, and you practice random acts of kindness. And so each and every day for the first 21 days, you send me a text, right? Because we're working on reprogramming. Now, very seldom has anyone got through it in the first 21 days, because when you miss a day, you start over.
Right.
Have you heard of the Guinness Book of World Records?
I believe I am in there for how long it took me to get through that exercise.
You got, if I remember right, you got to like 13. Oh, got to start over. Got to 18, got to start over. Got to 21 or 20, had to start over. And it was just, it almost became comical. But the good news in all of that is you practiced it not for 21 days, but for 50 or 60 or 100 days. It doesn't matter.
60 out of 65.
Right.
Right. And it's about establishing those habits. I remember where I was going before. Quite often with a client, when it is my turn now to speak, I've gotten everything together. I've gotten the package. Now it's my turn to start the teaching. I will have to say, it's my turn now. Because after the first couple of things, they'll want to start talking and moving in on it. Now it's my turn. Go ahead and write that down. Take a note, and we'll come back to that. But let me get through my thoughts so that hopefully we can move forward in the right direction for you. But it's a relationship, and it's going to go on for a while. Unless you have a specific end game in mind, it's going to take a while to get. It took us a long time to get as screwed up as we are. Let's face it. It's going to take a while of unscrewing to get some of these things fixed.
You're right. All right, we are going to get to our second commercial break here. We're going to put a shout out to our friends over at 216. And folks, tsellers.com. Give us a shout if you're a business. You want to get a spot like this for yourself. Just give us a yell, send us an email. Phone number is scrolling across the screen now. But anyway, let's hear from our friends. Have you heard? There's a new station in town, and they've been changing the way radio's heard. Not the same old predictable news and talk. No more of the same boring songs over and over. And people are listening. Almost 2 million of them in this market. While our listeners are tuning in for their daily dose of inspiration, why shouldn't they hear about your company? Perhaps 2 million sets of ears for literally pennies a day makes sense for your marketing. Call us today. All right, in bringing us. All righty, we're all here again, yes?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
Dread it was muted.
Yeah, this matter.
All right, here we are. We're back. Hey, okay.
All right.
Commercial break.
All right. So we were talking before the break, and unfortunately, we got about 12 minutes to wrap this all up. So I want to get into, perhaps one of the last questions I can ask on this subject for now. So now you've been through that initial interview process. Person said, okay, this is kind of what's going on. Here's my symptoms. You have taken notes. You have identified the problem. Now it's time to formulate a plan of some kind. The end game being, let's fix this problem. What does that look like?
Well, one of the important pieces of that conversation is, what does success look like to this individual? And on the call last night, I asked that question. I will know I'm successful when? Because without knowing what success looks like, we don't know how to get there.
Right.
If we default to bigger houses, faster cars, more money, prettier women, well, let's drop that when we're all married. Then, we're cheating ourselves. Sitting down with a piece of paper and writing down, that's one of the exercises we do is what does success look like? Because now we know where we're going and we can build a plan, because without that, we can't put a plan together. We've got Waze or Microsoft Maps or Google Maps. If we're going to Dallas, Texas, we put an address in there and it generates a plan for us. When it's our own success, we have to put that plan together. And I will help you build the plan. I'm not going to put a plan down for you. We're going to build your plan together. And once we've built your plan, now my main job is really holding you to it and saying, okay, this is where we said we want to go. This is what you agreed you need to do, and you're not doing it. So what's the deal? Is this no longer the goal, or are we going to,
Or we got a new symptom that just cropped up.
my mother-in-law got, my dog died. Whatever happens, it's just being able to help them overcome those challenges.
Right. And I think that is a great question that you just put out there, that you asked last night, because, and I'm not going to get too philosophical here. I'm just going to try to keep it on the straight and narrow. For most of us growing up in the generation that we all have, we were told what success looks like. We were told what we were to aspire to. And that often meant you got to go to college and get a 4-year degree. You got to go out, you find a job in a nice place, and you stay there and move up the ladder till you retire. You get a gold watch, and then you run off into the sunset. And that was the definition of success, right?
Yeah.
And then we got into maybe the 80s and 90s, and the definition of success was all those things plus the biggest house on the block, the fastest cars in the neighborhood. If the car didn't cost $100,000, it wasn't worth having. So the whole idea of success was so skewed by what other people were selling us. And I think, and as evidence of last night's meeting, success is a definition that is personal to everybody. There are people right now that are, they might be down on their luck, and their vision of success is, if I can just have a decent apartment and a good job, I'm successful. And they're right. That is their definition. So my question, and you knew there was a question coming to this at some point, how do you help people define what it is they really believe success looks like for them?
That is a great question, Tom. And it goes back to the answer I gave earlier. You ask a question and you shut up. What's your ideal day look like? If you were retired today, what would that retirement look like? Does it include travel? Does it include mission trips? What's important to you? And getting those things down on paper. And it's just conversation and asking the right questions and then stopping. That pause may not mean they're done. That pause means they're thinking about something else, and just being patient and sitting back. And it's a fun process. I mean, I really enjoy that piece. And some people's idea, they're going to get here and you're looking at them going, ain't no way, brother. That's a great goal, but ain't no way that's going to happen. Not at this point in your life. But I can't say that to them at that moment. I have to help.
Well, you told me flat out I wasn't going to play pro basketball the very first time I met you.
Yeah.
If we went back to that day, poor Tommy.
Yeah, when you told me you were going out to play basketball with it, I was like, isn't that interesting?
Right.
No, and I never will. So
we still
brave soul you are, Thomas Sellers.
We played a pretty high level brand of older basketball, and Tom thinking we were going to play some half court pickup. It was full.
We're old guys. What else would we play?
But I digress. I don't know, Frank. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, our generation's definition of success was different than our parents' generation, and I think our children's generation is entirely different. And now their children, oh my goodness, it's entirely different. So it's constantly changing. My definition of success has changed in the last 5 years from what it was. Certainly I thought I got there. I did, but again, things, it's continually changing. I think in conclusion, all this, the bottom line is we all, the three of us, would tell you everyone should have a coach of some sort in their life.
Right.
And should it be somebody you pay? It can be. Doesn't have to be.
Right.
So it is tax deductible.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Take that a step back. Let's take a step back on that one. Everybody should have somebody that they can talk to.
Right.
And have these conversations without judgment, and then be able to build a relationship with that person they're having conversations with in order to improve their situation.
Right.
Okay. So does it have to be somebody that's got the title of coach and that you pay for their help? It can be, and in some instances probably should be. but it doesn't have to be. It can be somebody you've got that relationship, you've built a relationship of mutual respect, trust, and understanding, and also have that ability to accept criticism and be held accountable, and the willingness to want to grow or improve something. That's
that's a
the
great
ingredients here. And where you find that, may or may not be with a professional coach or a paid for coach, but certainly if you're looking for some kind of help, ask for it, reach out, put the ego aside and search it out. You'll find it. It's out there. You'll find it. And if you need our help, call us. We'll help you. We'll talk to you. We'll have those conversations. We'll listen, and we'll steer you in the right direction.
Tom, you said something earlier that I wanted to respond to. Then you said, I'm not really a coach, but so my question to you is, do you have children?
I do.
You're a coach.
You're a mentor.
Do you have people who come to you with questions in your life? You're a coach. We're all coaches,
right,
in our life, because if somebody has come to us with a problem and we help them overcome it, that's the simple definition of a coach. That might take it one step farther. A coach has an intuitive ability to sense an issue from time to time, but still, we're all coaches, and we all need coaches.
I got one more thing I want to throw in here, and as we wrap this up for the audience, and that Tim and Tom, you obviously it's your show. You got to have the final word, but Coach, I got after all this coach talk, I got to hear it. Coach me, Coach.
Coach me, Coach. That's all I ask. Help me to improve task by task. Don't yell at me or scream or shout. It alarms me, so I'll shut you out. If I've done wrong, I'm the first to know. Teach me, coach me, help me grow. You are the coach who can help me win. I am the student. I'll say it again. Coach me, Coach. That's all I ask. Help me to improve task by task.
There it is.
I had a closing all set for today for the end of the show.
Sorry,
there's no need. So that being said, here's how I'm going to close, folks. The point of this show, the question that was proposed was, do I need a coach? The answer is only you can answer it. If you think back over your life, you've had a coach every single day of it. They just didn't have a title. All of us had a parent. All of us had a teacher. All of us had a preacher or priest. All of us had a college professor. Well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us. All of us had a manager. The point I'm getting to is, without somebody to help walk you where you want to go that has already walked that ground, you're making it much harder on yourself. When you talk about people that have coaches, when you think about a Tiger Woods who has and always has had a swing coach, the guy's got the best swing on the planet. The heck's he need a swing coach for? Michael Jordan, the best basketball player to lace him up, in my opinion, and a shooting coach. The point is, to answer the question I proposed earlier, do you need a coach? Yes, you do. So find one that makes sense. Find what your issue is. Find where it is you're trying to go. And then go seek out somebody who's walked that ground that can show you where the potholes are.
Let me shout out Brent Peterson. It's a good show. This is a gentleman I went all through school from kindergarten through 12th grade with. And we just had a conversation about 15 minutes ago. So, Brent, thanks for checking in.
Very nice. All righty. We are at that time. We have used up the sponsored hour that we have. We want to thank our sponsors, Hostica Assurance and tsellers.com. We want to thank our guest, Tim Coach Papa Stewart. Always great to see you. Everybody who has watched this, thank you. Please share it. That is how this audience grows. That is how this knowledge gets out there. And that is how we, in our own little way, can help you. I'm Tom Sellers.
I'm Frank Hostica.
And I'm Tim Stewart. And it's time to get off the bench and get back in the game.
I knew you were going to say that.
Peace out.